Hi, I'm Darren and welcome to New Factory Classics. Today we're going to break down X-Men: The Last Stand. Welcome back to the Foxverse, where we're going to end the original X-Men trilogy. Flashback to 20 years ago, a young Magneto and Xavier have gone to Jean Grey's house to convince her family to let her come to the Xavier School for Gifted Children. Personally, if two men in their 40s came to my house and asked to take my daughter away to live with them, I would have some questions. Shout out to Professor X, who still had full use of his legs, but zero use of his hair. Jean Grey shows off her powers by lifting up every car in the neighborhood to the two very well-dressed single men that are sitting in her house. Flash forward 10 years when a young Angel is trying to cut off his wings so his father won't know that he's a mutant. He needs to treat himself like a young chicken. When you cut their wings, they learn not to fly over the fence, and then when they grow back, they don't know how to use their wings. Cut to nowadays, when Wolverine and Storm are training the new generation of X-Men on how to fight in the Danger Room. It's the only way that they can teach kids about real combat, because they don't go to public school where you have to dodge bullets all the time. Scott is still mourning the loss of Jean Grey. It's hard for a guy that has sunglasses all the time to get a girlfriend, even harder for him to get a Bond girl. We get our first introduction of Beast in the X-Men universe. He's the current Secretary of Mutant Affairs and looks like a blue monkey. He also has dreams of killing Bart Simpson. Mystique and Magneto have been on the run for years since the end of the second movie. Recently, Mystique was caught by the federal government. I'm sure he'll come and save her, but he'll take his time, as a wizard is never late. Professor X is going over the idea of how mutants have changed how morals work within society. For example, if a telekinetic could move someone's consciousness into a body of someone who can't use their body, is that morally just? He poses that question to a room full of students and then kind of trails off staring into space. He's either getting old, he senses something with his abilities, or he's having a stroke. Xavier talks to Storm. He wants her to take over when he dies. He knows Scott's a mess, Jean Grey is gone, and so all that remains is Storm. It's basically promotion by last woman standing. Angel's father, a billionaire that owns a drug company, has made a public decree. He has found a cure for the mutant disease. If you take the shot, you will become human and no longer be a mutant. It poses a lot of ethical questions. Is it right to cure being a mutant? Is it even a disease to be a mutant? But the most questionable one that doesn't make any sense for the movie is why a drug company would create a shot that would cure you with one use. We all know how they would actually do it in real life. They would make it a daily shot, and you'd have to use it for the rest of your life. The mutants begin to have rallies to discuss how this will affect their communities if they have people that actually start taking the shot. But Magneto shows up and he wants to recruit people to his Brotherhood. He wants to create an army to go against the humans and to destroy the shot. He ends up recruiting a Porcupine Man and a Speedster Lady. Beast travels to Alcatraz Island, where they're actually creating the shot to cure mutants, and it's coming from a single source, a young mutant himself that can turn off all mutant abilities within 6 feet. Scott continues to be in the movie despite his best efforts to not be in it. He continues to hear Jean's voice in his head, and he is beckoned to return to Alkaline Lake. Once there, Scott takes off his glasses and shoots his beam laser right into the lake. It ends up summoning an undead version of Jean, who comes out and kisses him. Unfortunately, she steals the life force right out of him. This death gets my seal of approval, as Scott was kissed from a rose on the Grey. Wolverine and Storm end up finding an unconscious Jean Grey by the lake. They take her back to the school, where Xavier reveals that she actually has 2 personalities, the Jean Grey that they know, and a hidden one that's a level 5 mutant. Xavier had done well to hide away her evil version of herself. But unfortunately, just like how you hide the evil version of yourself at work, eventually too many meetings will break you, or even worse, a dam from Alkaline Lake will smash you to bits. Angel's dad attempts to give him the first cure, but Angel escapes as he doesn't want to lose his wings. Mystique is being held in a mobile prison. You know, the one that's kind of made out of cars, which is made out of metal, which is something that Magneto can destroy in 22 seconds. So anyways, Magneto shows up and he destroys it in 22 seconds. Magneto also frees Multiple Man and Juggernaut, and Mystique jumps in front of Magneto when one of the guards shoots a cure at them. Unfortunately for her, it turns her back into a human. He ends up abandoning her now. She's just a human, and you can't have a relationship based upon a kink when one of the kinks goes away. All of a sudden, it's just an 85-year-old gay man and a former supermodel. Jean Grey wakes up from her coma and is all of a sudden super horny for him. If they say watch out for redheads, it goes triple for redhead super mutant zombies. All of a sudden, Jean takes over and knocks the Phoenix out, and she begs Wolverine to kill her. She can't live with having these two personalities. Wolverine, though, can't kill the woman he loves. So, Phoenix takes back over and escapes out of the school. While following Jean Grey on the run, the team actually runs into Magneto's team, who's also trying to recruit her. They all meet up at Jean Grey's childhood home. And shout out to her parents, with some point in the last 20 years making their home ADA accessible so Professor X could come and visit whenever he wanted to. Professor X is doing his best to calm down Jean Grey. As we all know, when a woman is overwhelmed, it's best to tell her to calm down. She eventually gets super pissed and lifts the entire house off the ground, staring at Xavier and eventually dusting him, killing him. He is dead. Professor X has died. Rest in peace, Wheels. The funeral for Professor X is very sad. He touched so many lives and he helped so many young mutants when they had nowhere to go. Where will the school go without him? What will the X-Men do without him? And what the heck are we going to do with Cerebro? That room is completely useless now. Wolverine hears Jean's voice beckoning to him in his mind, just like what happened to Scott earlier. He ends up leaving the school and going to find her. Plus, who wants to stay at a school and work at a school and live at a school where the kids never go home? Magneto starts doing domestic terror attacks on all the cure locations where the shots are being given out. So the US government, in retaliation, sends the army to Alcatraz Island to protect it. They need to keep their factory up and running. Meanwhile, I'm worried about Fisherman's Wharf. Who's going to protect all the discount t-shirt shops and the crab sandwich places? Wolverine tracks Jean and the Brotherhood all setting up tents in a forest north of San Francisco. This was back in 2006 when tents near San Francisco only existed in movies. Wolverine gets captured by Magneto again because he's full of metal, and he won't learn. You can't take on Magneto. You have metal crafted to your bones. And yet he keeps trying in every single movie to attack Magneto with his metal bones. The US government gets information from a human Mystique on where the Brotherhood's camp is. She's pissed that he left her for an even crazier woman. The next scene, Magneto is at the Golden Gate Bridge. Okay, that's not too far. That maybe is 20 miles from where his camp was. What really doesn't make sense is that Wolverine is somehow back in northern New York. First of all, why Magneto let him go? Maybe he just didn't really care. Second, how Wolverine got back to northern New York, he doesn't have the Blackbird, so he took a motorcycle, which means it's been 30 hours. At best, probably closer to 60 or 70, driving across the country in a motorcycle. Magneto straight up steals the Golden Gate Bridge so that his army can get to Alcatraz Island, which is frankly a cheaper way to go than to pay for each of them to get the tour with the headphones. The US Army begins shooting a cure at Magneto's army as they end up sending wave after wave of mutants that keep getting turned into humans. But Magneto doesn't care about the low-level mutants, he's just trying to break through their defenses. The remaining X-Men show up and help the US Army defend the military base and the boy that can poison them with his abilities. I believe it's more of just an anti-Magneto as opposed to a pro-poison boy. Angel's dad is thrown from a roof, but Angel swoops in and catches him. Well, here's the deal. He wasn't on the Blackbird when the X-Men flew over there, and the Blackbird flies 700 miles an hour. So it's basically implied that because he got there 10 minutes later, Angel flies at around 680 miles per hour. The real question is why was he wearing clothes? If you were flying that fast, you would be covered in frostbite, and your clothes would have been torn from your body. Beast and Logan end up tricking Magneto and stabbing him with 4 vials of the cure. And then he just reverts back to being a human that looks utterly stupid because he's wearing a cape. Jean goes into full final boss mode and absolutely starts dusting everything in sight. Now it's up to Logan to kill her. As the last person to make out with her, he's the only one who can get close to her. I don't make the rules, I just tell you about them. Wolverine slowly walks towards Jean, his skin peeling off and rehealing every second as she's burning anything in sight. When he finally gets to her, he embraces her and impales her, killing her. He has saved the day. He has saved San Francisco, which is never going to be undesirable ever again. Jean and Scott are buried next to Xavier. The world is safe. The school is reopened. Life can continue for mutants and mankind. The end. Actually, wait. Remember that moral argument at the beginning of the movie of whether it's okay for a telepath to put someone's mind into a body that's not being used? Well, we don't even need to think for an answer. Xavier has come back to life. He put his mind into some person in a coma's body, and he's back. That's right, bitches. Wheels is back. And now I have seen it, so you don't have to. Please like, subscribe, and share. Thank you.